Misha here, and in parts 1 and 2 we looked at the earlier Imperial ties and specialist versions, and in part 3 we're going to get to the more experimental versions and just see how far they could push the design from Cinar fleet systems. Alright, so we covered the 3 basic craft, no hyperdrive, no shielding, then the atmospheric craft. And with the Reaper, we first see a hyperdrive and some basic shielding, not to mention just specialty. So now, let's skip over to experimental craft and really expanding the role of the tie, getting into specialist use, elite use, and also limited production. It's time to advance. The tie advanced, the X1, the tie AD. Never put into full production, but more than just Vader's personal were produced by Cinar Fleet Systems. In fact, Ray Cinar himself helped design this along with Vader, and it was designed a few years before the Battle of Yavin. It seems to have been produced around 3 BBY, and tries to kind of address issues with the regular tie LN, and it does take the solar collectors, the wings from the tie bomber, just really they're almost identical, a little bit slimmer but not by a whole lot. In fact, the overall length and size is pretty commensurate. It's about 6.5-7 meters wide, so just a little bit wider than a regular tie, but it's much shorter, much like the tie bomber, around 5 meters tall. And then lengthwise, it's just slightly longer than the bomber, so maybe 8.5 meters, 9. It has quite a bit of extra going on, and it was really a practice in miniaturization, and it does borrow a whole lot from the ETA-2, the Actus, the Jedi Interceptor, because this itself was an interceptor version of the tie. So, aside from just a different look, what makes it special? First off, we do have the larger solar collectors, but in addition we have a power cell, not unlike we see in some other craft, because we're going to need some extra juice for operating everything here. We have 2 LS 9.3 heavier, more powerful laser cannon, so the same thing as the TIE Interceptor, but 2 instead of 4. We also have 1 ordnance launcher, typically just with concussion missiles, but maybe something heavier. It's a relatively compact launcher, so you don't get a lot of options there. To go with it, we have more advanced targeting systems, sensor systems. We still have the standard twin ion engines, but they are uprated. And of course, the big new feature of the advanced is it does have a hyperdrive system built in. This is a class 4, so not the fastest in the world, but considering how small the craft is, it's pretty good for the time. And it can store up to 10 jumps in its computer memory, which is, not insignificant. Also drawing power, we have a shield system. Now, it would rely on its armor and speed. It was capable of about 105 megalights in space, and in an atmosphere, it was about the same as a regular tie, maybe just slightly faster at, say, 1250 kph. The shielding could help it do a little better. Maneuverability-wise, agility-wise, it was actually just a little under the tie LN, but, thicker armor, more ordnance, heavier lasers, hyperdrive. Makes sense. And then finally, unlike the standard tie and the bomber too, it did have life support built in. However, most pilots would still choose to wear a flight suit in case of ejection and emergency. It also carried a little more supply for longer missions, up to 5 days, versus the regular Titus usually having a couple of days worth of emergency supplies. Again, the Class 4 hyperdrive is not going to get you anywhere fast, but sure a lot faster than Sublight. It is a small, agile craft. It was kind of designed to compete against coming up Rebel fighters. It was designed at a time right as they were starting to use the X-Wing. They've been using the Y-Wing for a while. Again, Vader would have some. A couple of elite squadrons would have these throughout the Galactic Civil War. But it was really more of a test bed because it was really considered too expensive. It cost more than a TIE bomber for sure. It just wasn't something that they could mass produce. Plus, the Empire was really not keen on giving all their pilots light speed. Kind of promotes too much independent thinking. But these would pop around the Empire and would lead to other developments. I should briefly mention the TIE Advance V1, which came right before this, which was used by the Inquisitorius. It actually was kind of the same type of ship, but more compact, had folding wings, more like the Outland. So that was the immediate predecessor to this design. And this itself would lead to the TIE X7, the Avenger, which stripped the hyperdrive back out, but in other ways kept a lot of the features. But the X7 never seems to have gone into full production due to Rebel scum espionage. But work with the compact hyperdrive, the ordnance launcher, the shield systems, the life support would absolutely not go to waste. And so thanks to Vader's experiences here, Synar's systems experience, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, we get the best space superiority starfighter the Empire ever produced. The TIE D Defender. And this is how it looked when we first saw it. This is the titanium gold Micro Machine series. This is the original version, less the kind of caca foils. That's just how these all came out. This was the ultimate Imperial starfighter. And this is our current canon version. Yeah. Specifically, this is the TIE Defender Elite. And I don't know about you, but I think I do like the updated, modernized version a little more. Keep in mind, this was seen on screen, whereas the original, while very well known to gamers, was just from various video games. And there were very few examples produced in any model or toy line. Although the Action Fleet did have one, and it was one of the few I never had. I don't think they made very many of them. Either way, old legends or modern day canon, the TIE Defender is associated with the one, the only Grand Admiral Thrawn. And that automatically gives it some cool points. Let's remove it off its stand to talk about it. This is a remarkably skeletal, spread out fighter. And it's one of the few that's a jack of all trades and kind of also a master of all of them too. It's OP. But that's the point. But it does have some drawbacks we will get to. This was meant to be the response to the Rebels fielding advanced craft like the X-Wing, the A-Wing, and eventually the B-Wing too. This was showing that the Empire could absolutely make a line starfighter better than the Rebels. And no surprise that it came from Grand Admiral Thrawn, the quality over quantity approach. And so in some ways it's the exact opposite of a standard TIE. Development was underway just a couple of years before the Battle of Yavin, and we would get kind of two generations. The first one would be the TIE Defender. Then Vader would evaluate it and would give his support if a few changes were made, and then within the next year the TIE Defender Elite would come out, which despite its name was projected to be the version that would go into mass production because it just had a few quality of life improvements. It was also a little bit longer too. And this is all developed from the TIE Advance program, including its compact hyperdrive. In fact, it's smaller than on the Advance, fitting back here, and it's faster. The Advance had a Class 4, this has a Class 2. So, quite a bit faster. It too had shielding, like the Advance. But, whereas the Advance gave up some in maneuverability and was about as fast as a standard TIE fighter, this was very agile and had a megalight speed of 115 for the standard and 124 for the elite version. That was one of the changes the Vader dictated, was just more speed, more maneuverability. It was also much faster in an atmosphere. The original version was about 1400 to 1500 kph, with the elite version bumping 1600 kph, which is absolutely the fastest we're going to see as far as an Imperial fighter. The other thing is it really had no cargo. I mean, room was at a premium on this because, you know, they were using the most compacted versions they had of all the equipment. And it had a lot more to offer besides just its traveling abilities. When we first met the Defender, it had 4 laser cannon, 2 ion cannon, an ordnance launcher, and a tractor beam projector. It was also about 9 meters long, give or take. It still had a hyperdrive and all that, but it is a little more kind of skeletal, just, you know, not as spread out. With this version, because it never really got past the full prototype pre-production stage, we see some variability. Typically we will see 4 laser cannon, the LS 9.3, the heavier ones, the newer ones, and 2 ion cannon, or 6 laser cannon. Some sources even say 8 with the chin mounts there, kind of like with the TIE Interceptor. It could have up to 8, but it's going to be a major power drain. Now that's one reason, of course, they do have all the extra plating and wing area, solar area, was just to generate enough power for everything, because it is power hungry. It also carried missiles or torpedoes. You can actually see them mounted here in between the wings with a standard loadout of 6. So it could do light bombing duty, more so than almost any other TIE outside of like the bomber. And it could even house, optional, a tractor beam projector for slowing down enemy craft. This could outrun a A-Wing. It was 40% faster than a TIE fighter, but the cost, it was significantly more expensive. It was about twice the cost of a TIE Advance, twice the cost of a TIE Bomber. It was about 4 times to 5 times the cost of a standard TIE line fighter, TIE LN. Now what they did to help offset that, a regular flight of TIEs might be 12 or 16. This would usually have a group of 4, and that was considered a full squadron, because 4 of these in the hands of elite pilots that they were given to were expected to be able to do enough. And of course, because of its hyperdrive being reasonably fast and its heavy ordnance, it could operate much more independently, further away from its command ship than other TIE fighter types. Development was originally started at Lothal, and then through Rebel treachery, it was suspended until right after the Battle of Hoth, and then it was started up again with Admiral Zarin. And it was presented to the Emperor, but then there was more political intrigue. But it would eventually take its place as Defender of the Empire, and they would build about 10,000 of these. Not a huge number in terms of the overall galaxy, but enough that elite squadrons got them, and Onyx Squadron at the Battle of Endor was flying TIE Defenders. And it is one of those craft that has just kept on throughout Star Wars, and goes to show you what the Empire could do if financed. But it really wasn't to be. Other projects, namely the Death Star, would end up taking the budget, even though this was supported by Tarkin, Vader, Thrawn, of course, and even the Emperor. There were concerns about giving too much power and authority to single pilots, even if they weren't going to defect. Just the idea of personal glory and all that went against what the Empire was standing for. Not to mention the Admiral Zarin treachery and all the difficulties getting these tested before Yavin. So it kind of got backburnered. Even though it had a place, it never became the X-Wing killer that the Empire hoped it would be. Basically, they backed the wrong horse. They built 2 Death Stars instead of thousands of these. Even though it was expensive compared to the Death Star, it was a bargain. No surprise, Thrawn was right. Oh well. But it does go to show you. And like I said, these were at Endor. They were kind of coming in, replacing certain interceptor squadrons. After Endor, after the kind of balance of power started to shift, after funds became harder to get in the Empire, the projects like this had to be shelved. They had to just go back to making more and more TIE fighters, TIE bombers, interceptors. Your TIE Advanced, your hyperspace equipped versions had to be mothballed for a time. But then you get into the Imperial Remnant era as the New Republic is founded. So what do we have here? Well, the central fantastic